everybody. You join us in my Model X with a very special guest. This is John Gibbs, better known as DrKnowItAll. So be sure to check out his channel. He's got some phenomenal insights into all things engineering to do with FSD, Tesla bot, and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. So thanks for coming on board, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, buddy.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
Part of Elon's fallen angels. Got to represent you.
That's right.
So there we
That's
go.
our biker gang that we formed out in Vancouver at Fully Charged Live a little while ago. But I'm on my, as you guys know, I'm on my southern U.S. family road trip here, and we ended up in Atlanta, Georgia, which is close to Athens, Georgia, where John is located. So we came by to just go for a drive and a quick chat and say hello and hang out and have some of John's amazing coffee. So
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you.
yes. Well, John roasts his own coffee, so he's in a league of his own. What do you think kind of the timeline is in North America versus kind of the global adoption? Now we've heard rumors already about China kind of getting involved and what's going on there, but what are your thoughts there,
And
John?
Europe as well. So interestingly enough, in 11 minutes from right now, as we record this, I'm going to have a video that's going to drop on how I think China is going to actually be pivotal in the transition to. So you're getting a preview of this, even though it'll be after the fact for other people.
And I'll put a link
But,
for the
yeah.
video in the description.
Yeah. So anyway, but China is very, very aggressively pursuing autonomous driving solutions. And they've got a bunch of players there. And I think it's either 2026 or 2027 when pretty much every city in the country is going to allow autonomous driving. So like way, way, way more advanced than what the US is, thinking about. Because as far as I know, there's only 4 cities right now. That Phoenix and LA and San Francisco and Austin, I think, are the only 4 that are really fully supporting autonomous driving at this point. So anyway, so China way out in front. But the question, I think, comes down to, is it going to be able to transfer from learning in North America, from the US and Canada, to Europe and to China and other places? And the beautiful part about end-to-end neural networks is that you train the basic system here, but then you just add some data and retune it for other environments. So, I mean, the same thing between the US and Canada, even though it's not nearly as big a switch, but just a real basic thing is it's kilometers there instead of miles. And so everything, it just has to recognize that the sign is 120 kilometers per hour, not 75 miles per hour. So those kinds of like subtle changes, and then the road signs are all a little bit different, things like that. And it can do that because it's just kind of fine tuning the last bit on top of a base layer. And so they, the big problem for Tesla was that they didn't have access to the data in China because the Chinese government was, to some extent reasonably. If you think about a Chinese company coming in and going like, yeah, we want to like suck down all the driving data of our cars and then send them back to China, the U.S. might be like, a little hesitant.
Yeah, exactly.
So however Elon Musk did it, a couple of weeks ago, he went to China and worked out a deal with Baidu. And they have a big mapping solution that they do. But anyway, it seems like they've worked it out, and they will be able to do some sort of data thing, probably keeping a bunch of it in China or whatever. But they should be able to train relatively rapidly. So I think China is going to be an absolute key player in full self-driving. And really interestingly, and the big reason why is because Tesla's technology allows them to jump from one country to another relatively easily.
Yeah, it's not pre-mapped sandboxes where if you take it outside of that pre-mapped area, it just becomes a crazy killing machine driving all over the place.
And just to be clear, in China, I guess they have a very, very aggressive national policy of doing micro. When you drive around and you map the whole thing in super high detail. Yeah. But I guess Baidu and maybe some other companies have been doing that. I'm not super familiar with all that, but they have that, and so pretty much all of the other self-driving, autonomous driving taxi solutions that are there are using the super high resolution maps, 8 LiDAR cameras, radars, ultrasonics, all of this crap. And so Tesla still is going to have a big advantage when they go there, because if they can train just on cameras to do the same thing, they'll be able to expand all over the place rapidly. And the other companies only have a few thousand cars, and Tesla, of course, has well over 1 million vehicles in China
Yeah.
right now. So even without the robotaxi part, the fleet, the customers themselves could do autonomous driving. So yeah, so it's an interesting thing. It's been a revelation that I've only thought of relatively recently, is that I was like, wow, China is going to be very important to Tesla's full self-driving future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be an enormous player. And the
Right.
fact that their security concerns seem satisfied
Yeah,
was
that's
just a kind of huge step.
that's the part that blew me away. I was like, I don't know how Elon did it, but however he did it, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah, so and then just kind of moving on from there, we kind of, everybody's been talking about, the industrial effects of full self-driving.
Right.
But what about recreational? So I'm on this huge family road trip. Right now, we're actually driving in my 2016 Model X that has the first version of autopilot,
Right.
AP1, which is very kind of mechanical. There's no computerization. There's really only 1 or 2 cameras that face forward, so it's quite older. But now that we've moved into 8 cameras, neural nets,
Right.
and
Right.
computer learning and all that sort of thing, when and how do you think we'd see that translate into RVs, and our families
Yeah.
could be doing more
Yeah.
road trips versus less? And how do you think that'll affect that
Well,
industry?
we were talking about that this morning, and I one of the things that has been a remarkable kind of like learning experience for me is that it's I've always been the driver, like on road trips. I mean, my wife will do it, but but she's like, especially when we're driving weird back roads and crazy twisty things, she's like, I don't want to do it, and so I never get to actually see the environment. And since like autopilot and full self-driving, it's like, wait, I get to like look around and enjoy the scenery and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. As far as things like larger entities, like not semi, but well, I'm thinking about the Tesla Semi, but in terms of like motorhomes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I think that it likely will take a while for that to happen. But I think what it'll do is use the technology from the semi truck, because the size of the vehicle. In fact, it's much simpler because you don't have a gooseneck that's between the cab and the back of the truck. It's just one solid object. But I think that once they've got full self-driving to some extent dialed in for commercial vehicles like that, then it can transfer to things like motorhomes. And
but as far as the Great American Roadtrip,
yeah,
do you think we'll see more of that with a vehicle that has a higher level of autonomy?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. That's
Rather than flying somewhere, let's say, somewhere that you would normally take several hours to fly to. We're like, okay, well, we can take the day, but I'm not arriving exhausted.
Exactly.
I'm not.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And honestly, I again, to go from Athens to Austin, or especially down to Brownsville, is a 2-day trip. You can kind of just keep driving, but you're going to be wiped out. But in a Tesla, like in our Model Y, we just stop. Like, we go to a truck stop, we go to a supercharger, take out the mattress in the back, put the seats down, and just go to sleep for 6 or 7 or 8 hours and wake up the next morning. And that, combined with the fact that you can drive for 12 plus hours because the car is doing the driving, you don't have to you're just not as exhausted because the car is paying attention, and it's much safer, like way safer. I don't know about you, but like after 8 hours or 9 hours of driving, I'm like,
exactly.
not really at my best.
I know, and I tie into that. When I drove from Toronto down to Texas using the newest version of FSD, I mean, it was incredible, and I was trying to describe it to my sister, and I had her on FaceTime, and she's like, it's like you're riding the train. And I was like, light bulb went off, and I was like, wow. I'm like, yeah, you're dead right. It's exactly like riding the train. You put in your destination, you hop in, and then the thing is just like it's on rails and just takes you to your destination. If you want to, relax and take in the scenery, you're free to do that, which is a game changer.
Yeah, and of course, we haven't gotten to the point where you can actually go to sleep yet, but that'll happen. But even, and I think people feel like it's a binary sort of thing. It's like either it does it all itself or it's useless.
Right.
And it's like, no. For long road trips, for in the city driving, yeah, it's nice and it's convenient to have it drive itself. But generally speaking, you don't go like long distances inside a city. But man, when you get on the highway, the fact that you don't have to drive
Yeah.
is, even though you're supervising and still paying attention, it just is, the amount of mental workload drops substantially between the two. And it's really, really, it would be, I can't even like imagine going back and having to do a long road trip in like an older car now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It would be just devastating.
Well, one of the things I noticed, so we're on this road trip in the earlier version of Autopilot versus me driving from Toronto to Texas with the full self-driving, was by the time I got to Texas, I wasn't even looking at street signs.
Yeah.
It was picking which lane, which
Right,
exit.
right.
I didn't even care what highway the number was or anything like that.
Right.
With the old version of Autopilot, yeah, it does lane assist and it'll change lanes and that sort of thing, but I still need to pay attention to, is this my exit and all
Right.
of that sort of thing.
Right.
So you can see how the technology's kind of progressed, and the reduction of mental load with the newest software is just light years difference than anything else that's out there.
It is. And for people who don't believe it, and it's going to be hard to do it in just like a half-hour test drive, but Tesla will demo drive it for you. You go to the local Tesla dealership or
you got to try it out.
Showroom. Sorry, not dealership.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk. But anyway, go to the local Tesla showroom. Ask them if you can do a demo of the full self-driving, and they'll let you do it. And it's really eye-opening. It takes a while for you to become comfortable with it, which is why I'm saying if you do it for a half hour, you're going to be like, yeah, it was okay, but I was still like stressed. But once you do it for a couple of days, and especially for long road trips, I mean, my wife is driving back from a conference right now, and she's just like, yep, car's driving me. I don't drive. I'm just like, do that. So
it's the best.
Yeah, it's the best.
Literally the best. The one thing that I can see kind of switching up or kind of changing as time goes on with the full self-driving once we get to the higher level of autonomy is going to be charging. So right now we still have to get out of the car to plug the car in. So I just want to get your thoughts, John, quick on what do you think is going to be the implementation of wireless charging? Is that the future forward with these robotaxis and whatnot? What do you think is going to be the charging solution?
I love the idea of wireless charging, but the engineering of it, like, I don't know, you wireless charge your phone. I assume you do because the plaid and stuff. This doesn't have wireless charging, right?
This does, actually.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it must have been a very early...
It was actually, they came out with it several years later.
Okay.
And you swap out this panel and you can drop in one phone.
So, but, if you put your phone on to wireless charge, it gets hot.
Yes.
And every little bit of heat is wasted energy. Which, whatever, for a phone, it's like such a tiny amount. But, oh my gosh, when you're talking the number of kilowatt hours in a car, you just can't have that kind of inefficiency. That's just, you could waste 30% plus of the power that you're putting in, and that's a lot of energy, a lot of money. I would love for wireless charging to be a thing, but I'm not nearly as convinced as other people. Just because I've never seen it done in an efficient manner.
Well, Tesla bought that wireless charging operation there.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it along the bottom here. But that's, kind of making me think they're sniffing around anyways.
I'm sure they are. And I could definitely see it for like level 2 in your house for the convenience factor. You just have like a little pad or something that you just pull in at night and you never have to remember. Because believe me, I'm like the guy that plugs in our stuff, but my wife, like every time I go out of town for a while, she's like, oh, the battery's dead. I can't go anywhere. So I'm like, so for her, that would be a great solution because you just drive in and it just like charges itself and you never have to think about it. So I think for that, the convenience factor, now you still are going to be paying more money to charge it because it's wireless and it's inefficient. But if you're willing to pay that cost difference to have the convenience, I think that would work. But, like high intensity supercharger speed charging, I don't know. That seems like it's more far off than I think people think. I would love it if it would work. It'd be great. And for the robotaxis and things like that, it would also be great. But we may have to depend on Optimi.
Oh yeah,
the Optimus Tesla. The Tesla bots may be having a
or that serpentine.
Yeah, that thing was
little
cool.
video, that snake. That
what was that? Somebody said, "Don't bend over while it's working." It's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. A couple of warning labels on there for sure. But no, that's really, really cool.
Yeah. So I would love it if wireless would work. I just don't know that it's efficient enough to work yet. For something that high of a number of kilowatt hours that it's got to charge.
Yeah. All right, so I thought we would talk a little bit about the up-and-coming Cybercab truth versus rumor? What are your predictions? So August 8th, we're still about a couple months away.
Yeah.
From the release of unveiling or whatever's going on with Elon and the team over at Tesla AI. We also did release one sneak peek kind of little picture.
Yes.
We think that's what, back bumper?
I think it's the back.
Like
it seems like it's the back bumper.
Okay,
area.
so what are your predictions on
So,
this
well,
Cybercab?
I mean, you know, Sandy Monroe and I have been in a little bit of a tussle about this, that he says, absolutely, it's not going to be stainless steel. I'm like, I think that was even more, from the get-go, I've been like, it's going to be stainless, it's going to be stainless, it's going to be very thin stainless, like thinner than the Cybertruck, but it will be stainless, because why are they going to want to paint these cars that are just going to get abused anyway? And again, plus the fact, I think that the the complementary part about that is that it's just such a billboard. Already the Cybertruck is such a huge thing. People like come up, they're like, what is that? Just imagine a little 2-seater stainless steel thing riding around, and somebody gets into it or gets out of it, people are going to be like, what is that? And so it's going to be viral. It's going to absolutely, speaking of the ChatGPT sort of moment kind of thing, that's the moment that people will be like, I need to ride in one of those. I'm going to download the app. I'm going to go to the trouble of like signing up and all that just so I can ride, because it's just so cool. So yeah,
plus they could wrap those as well for advertising.
Could wrap it. If somebody graffitis it in New York City or something, it's just cool. Go left here to go by the gym. Yeah, you know, it's like it just will look cool. It gets some scratches on it. It'll look cool. Now I think it'll be like the Model X that you're driving here, in the sense that it'll have doors that will automatically, like they probably won't. They'll probably present themselves and then you can open it.
Okay.
But certainly
like
if
Cybertruck?
Yeah, but I think more like this though too, with a full closing. If you like, if you're a dumbass and you like just leave the door open as you get out, you know, and it'll just be able to
automatically pull it close.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be necessary for the cab. If they sell one that's similar, that's you know, the Model 2, whatever this next gen vehicle is, I don't know, because if they build the Cybercab as a 2-seater, which I think is more and more likely to happen, then it doesn't really make sense, at least in the U.S. market, to release a car like that. Nobody's going to buy that car.
So what do you think in China?
So I think in China and in Europe, both of those, with a bigger hatchback. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't need to be that much bigger, but it needs to at least have rear seats, which makes it bigger than a 2-seater. It could still be 2 doors, but I hate getting into those kind of cars. But anyway, I think in the U.S. market, this is one of those situations where the platform is probably going to split.
Okay.
Because I think Europe will be accepting of it to some extent, at like a 4-seater hatchback. China will be accepting of a really, really small 2-seater car, because they're already used to those like super tiny cars.
That's right, yeah.
And expenses matters. In the U.S., you know, are big, everything's got to be, you know, we want Cybertrucks.
Yes.
Screw that, man. We don't want 2-seaters.
Bigger's better.
Yeah. So I think in the cab it's great, because if you're just riding by yourself, you just go right here. Sorry.
Yep.
If you're just driving by yourself, or riding by yourself to a place, then obviously, what do you care? Like, that's fine. A 2-seater is perfect. This, by the way, really good coffee shop right there, Buvet.
Okay.
So, and some French little.
So, question for you: do you think we'll see a front hinge door or possibly a rear hinge door in Cybercab? Because we've all seen, you know, vehicles like the Rolls Royce or what have you.
That's the little climbing gym right there.
Oh,
so it's like it's just bouldering. It doesn't have any rope climbing.
Very good, active climbing.
Very cool. It's a cool place. Love it. If you're ever in Athens, you might find me there. So
we could see a rear hinge, because on those Rolls Royce, you know, we see kind of those power doors that open, and it just makes ingress and egress so much easier.
Yes.
What do you think about that idea?
Well, you got to think about it a little bit ergonomically. It makes the most sense to have a front hinge door, because the highest point of the car is the back part, and so people coming in are going to have to duck, like, more if the thing hinges on the back, I think, but I could be wrong. I don't know. It probably also depends on the mechanics, because one of the other things is, if you do a rear hinge door, it's a much bigger like thing that you're mounting it on, because like the front of the door is like this and the rear of the door is like this, so you can put a motor and a couple of hinges on the back, and it's really solid. And that's not going anywhere. Whereas the front one, because it's so much smaller, like if you got on that thing and started, you know, yanking on it, you could mess up the hinges. I don't think you could do it the opposite way. So that would be an argument to put it on the rear instead of the front. Yeah. Because again, you got to think about, like, you have to think of, oh, there's crepe myrtles right there. See, they're blooming already. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're beautiful. But anyway, it's the kind of thing where you have to think about abuse that you don't think about with a private car.
Correct.
Right. If it's your car, you're not going to do that.
There's no human supervising.
Yeah, there's no human supervising, and people are just jerks, and
Yeah.
it's just unfortunately that's the reality of it. So
Well,
you
we've
have to
already
be able to
seen
make
some
it.
of the crazy abuse that they put out on those Waymo cars, jumping on them, smashing
Yeah,
windshields, lighting them on
exactly, right.
fire.
Yeah,
We're
crazy.
gonna see that no matter what, even with
Right.
the Tesla Robotaxi.
Yeah, 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 and there will be, but I think that's kind of more active hate of that specifically. But I'm even thinking just people, I don't know, if you don't have a person around checking, then the tendency is to be less careful.
Right.
So
Okay.
I just did a thing on the Tesla police car that I think you said you saw like that. But
Yes,
one of
the
the things
Model
is
Y.
they changed the interior around to be none of the carpeting. It's all very easy to clean out.
Yeah.
Because he's like, the prisoners vomit, they piss.
Yeah.
This,
Very industrial.
yeah, and again, you're thinking about drunk people going home after the bar at 2 o'clock in the morning. You want it to look nice, but you want it to be easy to clean.
So we're talking a very utilitarian vehicle.
Exactly. Now, and then the thing is, and the beauty of it is that everyone's like, well, but what if I want to go with my family or the two of us want to bring big luggage or something? It's like, well, then you have the Model Y, the Model 3 that you rent those instead and you pay more. So the little guy costs less, but the big guy, either people like customers like us put it up for rental or they just have a fleet of those. So let's say like 80% of the cars were the two-seaters.
Yeah.
They would know the statistics, but like whatever the Uber ride percentage is, if like 80% is one or two people with no luggage, then that's the spread. And you put those out on the road and then you have 20% and or the public like you and I could put our cars on as part of the thing, and for that 20% of the time when people are willing to pay extra to get the luggage room or to have 4 people in the car instead of 2, then you just do that. So Tesla's got a beautiful setup already, which is why the two-seater makes sense. I was always like, no way, it does not make sense. But then I'm like, oh, right, but they have the other cars that they can use if they need to.
And they've got the data to
exactly.
understand that niche that they're filling, that
Exactly.
specific use case. And I think we're really going to get our eyes opened as to how far down the rabbit hole Tesla's gone with the use case, with building a purpose-built Robotaxi.
And the other thing is, remember, it's at least if it's the Robotaxi and they're not going to do different ones in different locations, they want it to work in China, in Europe, and the United States, North America.
Right.
Those 3 markets at the very least. And if they work there, they're pretty much going to work most other places too. But so what works for all of those? Unless I think that if they sell a Model 2, $25,000-ish car, then that's going to be potentially different platforms like stretch, compress. Oh, the other thing about the Cybercab is if you make it a two-seater, you can easily do a one-piece, like with the current gigapresses. Like currently you just can't do it with like a Model Y or 3 because they're just too big.
Too big,
But
so
this
like
guy is tiny.
9,000.
Yeah, I think with the 8,000, 9,000 ton, I mean, they've gotten so good that they can do the back of the Cybertruck with, I think it's only, is it 7 or 8,000 ton? It's not their biggest one. They can actually do it with a smaller one because they've gotten really good at it. So you just make the underbody is one, it's like kaboom, and it's out, and then you just put all the stuff on top of it. And so it's going to speed up the flow of building these cars by having something like that. So there's just a huge amount of advantages of having it really, really small.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing something that's never been done before.
Right.
Like nobody's ever built no auto manufacturers ever built a purpose-built commercial, industrial people mover.
Right.
That wasn't, that didn't have an edge where it was being sold to the public for, personal enjoyment or whatever the case may be. Now, that brings me to my next question is, do you think they will sell Cybercab to individuals, or is Tesla going to keep them all in their own fleet, keep them corporate?
Oh, you mean selling to like other fleet manager? I don't think they'll.
Or even like an individual. We're like, hey, does John want to buy a Cybercab and have it go out and earn some money?
Yeah. I would say no at the beginning because they're going to be limited on the number of vehicles they can produce.
Right.
So, at the beginning while they're ramping, because it's going to be the unboxed, whole new production, and they may only be able to produce a few thousand a month. Like, not initially, it's going to be nothing, but even as they ramp up, let's say they can do 2,000 a month or something.
Because they're starting
after 6 or 8 years, 6 or 8 months.
Right.
They're going to have a need for all of that. So they might work out a deal with like Hertz or Uber or something to have them be the fleet managers, but I don't think they're going to sell it to individuals because there's no.
So something like what they've done with Pepsi with the Semi.
Yeah.
Where they pick one.
Right. Or they might just have it all themselves because they got the app now. You've seen the screen grabs of the app. So they might be like, nope, screw it. We're just, we're taking all of our marbles and going home. That's it.
People would buy them, though.
Oh, yeah, people would buy them.
Just for the sake of the cool factor.
But again, I think the deal would be that what they'll do is they'll say, this is our Cybercab. If you want to have your car join our network, then we'll profit share with you. Because why would they build the Model Ys and Model 3s just for the fleet? They might as well sell that to the consumer and just do a price sharing deal.
Right.
So again, I think eventually, if they get this thing ramped up and they're making a lot of them, then yes. But I think they'll make some sort of Model 2 car that's smaller and cheaper, but they'll sell that. But the Cybercab, again, I don't know. At least in the near future, it's kind of hard to know. Like if they can get to the point where they can make 3 million of them a year, there's only that. How many cabs do you actually need in the world since they're working so much more often?
Well, and I'd be curious to know what cities they're gonna start with.
Exactly. Oh, go this way.
Go
you
through
can go.
here?
Yeah, you can go the back way. Yeah. I was like, hey, you're doing this right.
Turn right here.
Yeah, this is like the secret back way. So.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've actually figured it out. It doesn't even show it on the map.
We'll go through here.
Just keep going. It'll eventually. Yeah, it sees rerouted.
Perfect.
Yeah. This is
for the win.
I know. This is why I always disengage full self-driving, because this is way faster than going.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's got to be a way to like, hey, this is.
I know. It would be nice.
This is a shortcut.
This is the problem with full self-driving not learning anything. Is it's like, come on, dude. After I do this 5 times, you should just know that this is the right way to go.
Yes.
But it doesn't. So. But yeah, it's really fascinating how. So here's a prediction. I think that they're going to do the announcement in Fremont, which is where their AI based, and also where their Texas, their California factory is.
Yes.
So they'll do it in that area, and they will allow Cybercab rides. They're going to get some sort of regulatory approval in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do it in San Francisco so that they can do it there specifically, but that the people who attend and
Yeah.
we'll put in the bid right now, please. But anyway, the people who attend will actually get to ride in the cab.
Yes.
If not, public roads would be the absolute
or Fremont
best.
Test Track. I mean, they have.
Yeah, if they can't do that, they
Where
can
they
do it
did
on the
plaid-
Fremont. Yeah.
Where they did the
So
plaid.
that's the fallback, I think. Or potentially, I think they have a test track in Austin now too. But
Right.
But I think that the goal would be for them to do it on public roads, because that's the best demo of it.
Right.
If not that, then the fallback would be on a test track, and they would just be like, they'll set up some sort of little fake city thing with left turns and right turns, and have a bunch of them driving around.
Yeah.
Like a little I'm trying to remember I remember when I was in preschool or something, they had this whole thing outside. It was on the asphalt, and there was a little fake road. And
Oh, yeah.
Your little tiny car that you could walk and so you drive around and learn the traffic.
Carpet mat that everybody
Yeah,
had
yeah,
all the
exactly.
roads
So
on.
you would go around and pretend like you were driving. So, but that I think that would be the fallback position. So if they announce it and say, so the real wild card, we talked about this when we were having lunch, is that they might actually do it in China, which would be really crazy.
Which is not out of the realm of possibility. It is a greater than zero chance, I think, that they'll hold it in China.
Right.
They've never done a new product launch in
Exactly.
China. The recent deal with Elon and the Chinese government, I don't know if.
And by the way, I will fly there if it's in China. I'll fly there.
Let's go to Shanghai.
Let's go to Shanghai, baby. I'll go to Shanghai anytime, actually, if just to do a factory
100%.
tour. But I think the odds-on favorite is Fremont, Bay Area, because that's where their AI headquarters are. So that makes sense. And also, San Francisco is friendly to autonomous driving. The second backup would be Austin, and the third would be Shanghai. But Shanghai is not 0%, like you said. It's within the realm of
it'd be
possibility.
exciting either way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no matter what. If it's in Texas, I think the odds are, I don't know. Austin's actually fairly friendly to autonomous driving, too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that may be one of the reasons they're holding off on telling people where. Because they may be talking to regulators and saying, hey, will you let us do, demo rides?
Definitely.
So,
I think those talks... they're either happening now or they've already happened. I think that.
But another wrinkle to this whole thing, and I'm sure people know, the Cybertruck still doesn't have full self-driving yet.
Right.
Because it didn't have the training data to know how to do it. So the Cybercab is going to be a different shape, especially if it's a 2-seater. It's going to be mini. So that means that
much smaller format.
Right. So that means that you might have to do a lot of retraining. So how are they going to do that? And they can't exactly. It's not going to be. The Model 3, when they did the Highland and stuff, they covered up the front and back, and people were like, I think it is, but I don't know. This thing's going to be unless they're driving around a car And maybe we've actually seen that where
Where they have the cameras like
yeah,
in
where
the
they
back
had the cameras
windows,
in the back
which
windows and
maybe
stuff.
mimicking that
Right, so
smaller
they may
footprint.
be trying to gather data right now to train it up real quick. I doubt that they would get full on approval, but maybe the goal is to get approval from one of these cities to at least do a demo of
Yeah.
it, like on the
No,
opening
we
day.
need a demo
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And of
Yeah.
course, they can also do the trick that Cruise and Waymo and everybody have done, which is to have a remote driver either in the driver's seat or joystick controlling it in the background.
Yeah.
So,
I'll do
yeah.
one more loop.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's fine. I was just like, oh, you're going to miss it. But it's like, that's fine. The farm is beautiful down here. So, yeah, it's,
Either way, I think it's going to be super exciting.
yeah.
I mean, no matter where they have it. I mean, if they end up having it in China, well, we'll stay up for the time
Right.
difference
Or be there, I hope.
and
That'd be nice.
and potentially be there. Yeah. So put us on the list for an invite.
I
there,
know,
if
seriously.
anybody from Tesla's watching. But anyways, I just wanted to say a big thank you to John here. Thank you, my friend.
Oh, yeah, ride or die.
Always great to hang out with you, and won't be the last time we'll be
know.
on camera together.
So we'll actually be in California for the X Takeover
Yes.
in San Luis Obispo, and then it looks like we both might be in Vancouver for the. It's not fully charged anymore. What do they call it now? Something electric life, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fully charged thing, whatever they call fully charged now.
We'll be there, and we'll make sure you guys are more than aware of it and give it a good heads up. But in the meantime, thanks so much, and we'll see you guys in the next one.